Okay, welcome back. Hope you had a good break. Let's talk a little bit about FME Flow Performance before we do compare workspaces. One of the main reasons you might consider adopting FME Flow, other than the sort of enterprise type user access management stuff, is scalability. We were talking a little bit about this yesterday in terms of you do have access to some form of scalability with a single FME form license, in that you can use parallel processing or workspace runner with concurrent processes to run many FME processes on your own machine, or I guess technically 16 with parallel processing. There's a similar idea with FME Flow. It just has less of a cap in a way, in that you can run many FME engines. An FME engine is basically one instance of FME that can process a single workspace at a time. FME Flow is basically licensed by the engine. There's fixed engines, standard engines, which just run one job at a time, and they sit there waiting when they're not in use. And there's CPU usage engines where you pay by the CPU hour. And so those are not paid for when they're not in use. They're just paid for on use. Most of our customers nowadays support a mix, or deploy a mix of these two different engine types. As you increase the number of engines, of course, you can support a higher volume of jobs. And there's a load balancer through the queue system on FME Flow, which you can use to send certain types of jobs to certain engines and kind of manage your workflow that way. One way you can take advantage of these capabilities in FME Flow is dividing a workspace into multiple jobs. So you might build a workspace and use the FME Flow job submitter. That's one option, which is kind of, starts in FME form, but takes advantage of the many engines available on FME Flow. A sort of more modern approach, I would say, to some degree, to that that problem really is to build a more modular workspace and then use an automation with some kind of trigger to help it run many times. FME Flow Hosted is one option as well if you're considering taking advantage of the scalability options of FME Flow, because this lets you fire up your own FME Flow instances that will host for you. So we do have some customers that take advantage of this to fire up instances that are essentially ephemeral, that will just boot up when they need them. They'll process a bunch of data and then they'll shut down. And there are some FME Flow custom transformers available on the hub that let you sort of automate this process by checking for balances and starting and stopping instances. So this is just kind of a bit of a pointer of, if you are starting to run into some of the limits of performance on FME form, maybe if you're also having trouble taking advantage of things like the workspace runner or parallel processing with custom transformers, one thing to consider is having a look to see if FME Flow might be able to help you with some of those by pursuing different kinds of scalability and load balancing through using an FME Flow engines. So that's the kind of basics there. Just a little bit of a plug to think about FME Flow in this context as well.